In today's video, we gonna talk about One Piece chapter 1024. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all that good jazz. But we're gonna get right into it. First things first, obviously, is question of the day. Question of the day is gonna be, what was your favorite part of this chapter? Because I feel like there's a lot of cool stuff in it. So we start up and we're basically on the second floor of Oniginishima, right? And there's a shadowy figure being surrounded by Kaido's subordinates, all foaming at the mouth. And we have some of Kaido's subordinates looking around, trying to figure out who's using Conqueror's haki or Supreme King haki. Obviously, we find out that the shadow figure is Ussop, and Ussop is in his normal cat bag, basically talking about how he defeated two of the Tobiropo and stuff. We go to where Nami, Tama, and Speed are, and they're basically hiding near Ussop. And Speed basically reveals that the Conqueror's haki is obviously not coming from Ussop. Usopp's not a Conqueror's haki user. I don't know if you thought that. You probably didn't. But it's Big Mom. Just then, Nami basically gets Den and Mushi call from Franky. And Franky's in a zone connected to the live floor, which is coincidentally where Kaido's army is moving towards. So Franky's fighting Kaido's army with the help of Law's crew. So for all the people wondering what Law's crew was going to do, me included, because I did say they were not nice, except for Beppo. Shout out my boy Big Beppo. But Law's crew, they're helping Franky, so that should tell you the hierarchy, because Law's entire crew is helping Franky, who's like the 5th or maybe 6th best member of the Straw Hats. But we're not here to slander Law and his crew. What I like about this chapter that they did was they kind of show every Straw Hat and basically their communication with each other, right? So like I said, we saw Ussop, then we switched on to Nami, and then Nami got a phone call from Franky. And then we had the Black Marine Robin fight. We had that ending thing. We know Brook always has his MVP moment, so Brook is carrying an unconscious Robin, from the fiery area. So shout out Brook and Robin. I think that's almost all the crew. And then Brook, contacts the last Straw Hat we haven't really talked about, and that's Jimbei, who's still on the 4th floor. And one thing that Jimbei basically wonders is like, who's fighting Kaido? Because I think all the Straw Hats are kind of meeting up, so they're kind of figuring out that like, okay, oh, all right, Robin, you're done with your fight. Okay, Nami, you're done with your fight. You didn't get a fight, but still. So Jimbei's thinking like, okay, this is a little too easy. And we cut to the rooftop. That's the roof piece. That's peak fiction right there. And we see Kaido and Yamato are still fighting. Let me get in my cat bag real quick with this Yamato stuff. Because I was telling people, bro, I was like, man, I know they had those jokes of Yamato being in the monster trio over Sanji. I'm in the ZKK now, so I'm okay with those jokes. I'm not mad at that. But I was telling people, bro, I was like, y'all should know that Yamato might be stronger than Zoro, even Luffy. And people were like, no, there's no way. She can't throw the Straw Hats. I'm like, bro, there's a good chance Yamato could be a conqueror. And people just dismissing it. I'm like, bro, why? And Yamato and Kaido have been fighting this entire time. And I don't know exactly how long it's been, but I'm almost certain that Yamato's been fighting Kaido for a lot longer than Luffy has, or Luffy was. And obviously people were saying stuff like Kaido's holding back and stuff, but I mean, even in the Luffy Kaido fight, we know for a fact Kaido was holding back because he beat Luffy and he was like, damn, I went a little too hard. So as of right now, Yamato being over Luffy and Zoro, that's not a bad take. We gonna keep moving. Yamato uses an attack called Narakabura arrow, and basically Kaido reflects it with his cannonball, his little club joint. And Kaido uses a stronger version of the attack, like the invincible arrow. So I hope and obviously Yamato tries to reflect it, but it's too powerful because Kaido is yonko. You guessed it. And they have their dialogue and stuff, and Yamato is like, she's really wondering why, like, what is so bad about admiring someone. And just then we get a little flashback. I know this flashback is very, very interesting. So basically the flashback is about 20 or so years ago, and we have a young Yamato who's like, I think she's like what, 28, so she's like 8 years old in this flashback. Yamato is tied to a wooden column around a bunch of unconscious Kaido subordinates, very similar to the scene we saw earlier in the chapter. Obviously they're foaming at the mouth, which tells you that someone used supreme haki. Kaido basically takes her to this cave, and this cave has this weird kanji on it, and 3 of Wano's greatest swordsmen are there. Kaido gives an ultimatum of like, he tells them, any of you guys who declare to be in my army, y'all can come out right now. And obviously no one says anything. Yamato is basically trying to leave the cave. She's like, can I go? And Kaido's like, didn't you say you're Oden? And then he leaves. So obviously we know these 3 swordsmen are people that, there are obviously 3 swordsmen that Kaido's defeated in the past. And Yamato, knowing this, she probably thinks that these guys are gonna have, take revenge on her. Yamato basically declares that she's Oden, but not just that she's Oden, but also she's the son of Kaido who also killed Oden, which doesn't make any sense. But it's neither here nor there. The point is that she knows that those 3 samurai probably have a grudge against her because of her father, and they might even try to kill her as revenge. But just then we got a samurai who basically gets up and gives him food. And he basically tells him like a samurai should never be hungry. and she's thanking them. You know, she's like, oh, I'll never forget this rice bowl for the rest of my life. If you look at that panel and stuff, it obviously looks very, very similar to the Tama panel, where Tama had a scene very, very similar where she's like eating this bowl of rice and she's like, I'll never forget it forever. It might not have been a rice bowl, it might have been like a different food, like the red beans or something. But yeah, I think it was like the red beans and rice or whatever. But she was like, I'll never forget this meal for the rest of my life. And if you look at the panels, they look very, very similar. There's 3 samurai, right? So one of the samurai gets up and takes out a sword, which looks like one of the swords our man Big Zoro has. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not saying it is. I'm new to ZKK, so you have to forgive me. I don't have the sword designs in my head like that yet. But the sword, that sword looks like one of the swords Zoro has wielded. But anyway, he cuts the chain from Yamato because Yamato had this big chain. Like the chains she has now are cool, but they used to be connected on some like prison stuff. So he cuts the chain, and she basically asked the samurai who just cut the chain for her his name, and he basically says like, I'm nobody, just call me Nanagashi, a certain someone, which is the name of the chapter. And obviously if something's the name of the chapter, it's always the main event. So pay attention to this guy, right? You know, before then all the samurai we had seen were just like, you know, silhouette and stuff, but now we finally see the samurai, the 3 samurai. But you know, there's 2 samurai that are there that don't matter. This one samurai is the one that we really talking about now, because he looked like our man Zoro, and not just like Zoro, like it's not like Ace and Roger where it's close, but it's not. No. This guy looks like Oda. Literally, you know, we know that Oda drew all the prominent characters like at age 20, 40, and 60. This guy looks like Zoro when he was aged to age 60. Like this guy is literally Zoro. So a lot of people were saying Ushimaru looks like would be Zoro's dad as of last chapter, because we saw a silhouette of him with the little scar and it was similar. I think this is without a shadow of doubt proof that this is Zoro's father. And then Yamato she basically shows all the samurai Oden's journal. And it obviously shocks them because Oden, like you think that for how protected Kaido is of like Oden's, like the legacy of Oden, you'd think he would have like found that journal and got rid of it. Like it's crazy for Yamato, because it seems like, I think Yamato said she just picked it up in like the rubble of the fight. Maybe Oden dropped it in a place that he knew Kaido wouldn't go for it. So man, that's just crazy, but never mind that. The point is Yamato can't read, which is kind of messed up, because this man Kaido really doesn't want her to get better, to better herself. He doesn't want her to become a better person. So he let her be illiterate for like 8 years. The next coming days, the samurai starts to teach her how to read, so she can read the journal. So they teach Yamato how to read, and I think this is about 10 or so days. That's how much has passed. And basically, one of the samurai says like, if Kaido wants you dead, then you won't be able to live long to see the battle that Oden predicted in 20 years. This is when Yamato makes her promise or whatever. She's like, if I live until that day, I will fight for Guano and stuff. So then they're like, okay, we're gonna help you to join that battle, because 20 years is too long for us. And the guy that I am telling you is Ushimaru takes out his kimono, and we see his tattoo. Obviously he takes out his 2 swords, but we see his tattoo. And his tattoo, the back of like his back, which has the tattoo, it's the same symbol that Zoro Sensei had. You know, the Zoro from the, you know, the Huina, the stairs, all that stuff. Yeah, that guy. Which I think we knew his father was already from Wano, so we already had the connection. But now we're pretty certain we're almost certain that guy who Zoro's master from his flashback is probably maybe like related to or the disciple of what we're assuming is Ushimaru, which is what we're assuming to be Zoro's father. It seems like there's a lot of assumptions, but it's really not that many assumptions. Back to the peak fiction, which is Yamato and Kaido, and they're basically battling it out. And Yamato's talking about, you know, you took away my freedom and stuff. Why have you taken away this country's freedom? And Kaido basically is like, you little kid. This world can't be explained with simple questions and answers. But this clash happened and stuff, and obviously it's black lightning bolts, because that's how Conquerors works. But more importantly than that, Yamato and Kaido look like they're going back and forth. It looks like Yamato is pushing Kaido. Like if you look at his face, if you look at Kaido's face, it looks like Kaido's, you know, had as much as he can have. Not saying that Yamato's as strong as Kaido, but it looks like that clash is very close. Now, I'm not saying Yamato's Kaido level, because that's insanity, but I am saying that it looks like Yamato's pressing out hybrid Kaido, which is also insane. That Yamato being strong in Luffy agenda is looking kind of good right now. But I think this is a gas chapter, obviously. Like, let me know what your overall thoughts on the chapter, but I'm out, so peace.